Stars are right, and that means it's time for another episode of The Whisper in Darkness. I'm your host, the man from Lang. Thank you very much for joining me today. On this episode, we are continuing our campaign with Lola Hayes, the actress. We played through Curtain Call and The Last King, and now we are off to the Historical Society to investigate the past performance of the King in Yellow play in Arkham at the Historical Society. Made a couple changes from the deck for this scenario. I purchased 2 copies of the level 2 version of Peter Sylvester. With our experience points, we had 4 experience points remaining after the first 2 scenarios, so I did buy 2 copies of Peter to help out with Lola's sanity a little bit. She has suffered that mental trauma. Now it's going to be tricky to play around Peter because he does have that response, so we can only trigger his response when we are a survivor. But we can certainly put a couple of horror on him and then try to trigger him to remove that. I also removed 1 copy of. I removed the emergency cache and the fire axe for Peter Sylvester, and then I used adaptable to remove the 2 copies of fine clothes and replace those with 2 copies of dodge to help out Lola a little bit in the combat department. We enter Echoes of the Past with 1 mental trauma. We've earned 5 XP so far this campaign. We picked up 3 in The Last King. We've got 1 tally mark under chasing the stranger. We interviewed Ashley Clark, Ishimaru Haruko, and Sebastian Moreau during The Last King. And we went back into the building afterwards. Lola was concerned about her friends and all that had happened that night. So she did return to the building, and she intruded on a secret meeting. So we will find out what that means, hopefully at some point during the campaign. And we have marked 1 doubt in our campaign log. We are set up over in Octagon, and we are ready to go. Echoes of the Past is probably the scenario I have played the least of so far. I've found it fairly simple, although I have had a few games where the encounter deck has simply crushed me, and those were not pretty games. But I find if you can get a quick enough head start on the encounter deck, you shouldn't have too much trouble finishing this scenario. There aren't a lot of VPs. I think there are only 2, possibly a couple more, although I think you have to go one way or the other, so I think there's only about 2. Lola Hayes begins the game at the entry hall. It's a 2-shroud location with 0 clues, and it is connected to each other ground floor location. It has the action Resign. You flee, leaving the mysteries of the past to the mysterious cultists. Of course, in this scenario, we are racing against the cultists to find out the information we need. And because we interviewed Sebastian during The Last King, we get to start the game with 1 clue on the entry hall. So that's a nice little bonus for us there. That will help us advance our act that much quicker. Of course, the Historical Society is 3 floors, and you move up. You can move up and down through the quiet halls. We are searching. You'd like to be at a passageway, ideally, so that you can find the hidden library, which is our end goal. The agenda is 1A. The truth is hidden. Surprisingly, the front doors of the Historical Society's Georgian Manor are cracked halfway open when you arrive. Who else could be here at this hour? Now, this scenario is different from the others in that you do not add doom to the agenda during the Mythos phase. And it has the forced effect. After 1 or more clues are placed on an enemy in play, you flip those clues to the doom side. So usually what happens in this scenario is you end up with some cultists on the table. those cultists grab the clues at the locations, and when they're placed on the cultists, they flip to their doom side, and so that's how this agenda will advance. And you need 2 clues per investigator, or sorry, 2 doom per investigator. So once 2 doom are placed on cultists or other doom is added, you can add doom to the agenda in other ways. That will advance. Our act is 1A, Race for Answers. Each of the Historical Society's many rooms contains records and documents that may aid you in your search for the answers about the King in Yellow. There must be something here that can guide you toward the truth. And it has, we need 2 clues per investigator in order to advance, so we will simply need 2 clues. Now, because we did return to the building as Lunacy's reward after the last king, we removed all of these cultist, tablet, and elder thing tokens from the bag, and we added 2 elder thing tokens to it. And so we are playing on standard difficulty. The skulls are -X, where X is the highest number of doom on an enemy in play, and the elder thing is a -2. If you fail and there is an enemy at your location, you take 1 horror. We have Lola Hayes set up here. She has her adaptable in play this game. I remembered to put it in the deck this time, and the swatches that we will use to keep track of her current role. She's using 4 colors in this deck, so we'll see how we do. We are ready to shuffle up our deck here and draw our opening hand, so we will do that now. Give it 1 last shuffle, and we will see how we do. Now, clue gathering in this scenario is extremely important. You want to try to just gather the clues as quickly as possible, so I'm going to be looking for cards that will help me do that. Okay, we've got a machete, a copy of Crisis of Identity, our weakness, Peter Sylvester, a copy of Improvisation and Emergency Aid. The Emergency Aid is going to go... actually, first we get to discard the Crisis and see what we get for that. There's a Guts. That will also go. We will pitch... I'm going to pitch the Improvisation, or maybe not. Let me see what I think I can use that to play my machete for free. So I'm going to keep that. We're going to go this way. We'll draw 2 cards. There is a dodge, and there is an If It Bleeds. So no help in the investigation front so far. So we will shuffle those into our deck, and it looks like we're ready to begin the game. I'm going to begin the game as a survivor this time around, because I am going to play Peter Sylvester for 3 resources. And then I am going to play my Improvisation to switch my role to Guardian, and until the end of the turn I can reduce the resource cost of the next card you play by 3, and I get to draw a card. So I will draw a card. There is a Perception. Okay, that helps us out a little bit. And then I can play my machete for free, so that's really nice. And then I'm going to switch roles again, I think, and we're just going to pop over to neutral. So a good looking start here. We can try to grab this clue, and I'm going to do that. We're a 3 versus 2, so that, do we want to risk it? Skulls are 0, so I'm just going to risk it here. We're just going to go 3 versus 2 and see what we get. That is an elder thing. That is going to be a failure, and that is going to end our turn. There are no enemies in play. We don't have to worry about that. We will simply draw a card. There is our weakness, Psychosis. We add Psychosis to our threat area, and after we take 1 or more horror, we take 1 direct damage. And we have to take 2 actions to discard Psychosis. I'm going to gain a resource. We do not add a Doom, and we will simply draw an encounter card. Which is the Cult's Search. If there is a cultist enemy in play with Doom on it, you move all Doom from each cultist enemy to the current agenda, which can cause the current agenda to advance, and if there are no cultist enemies in play with Doom on them, you have to search the encounter deck and discard pile for a cultist enemy and draw it. Shuffle the encounter deck. So we're going to go hunting for a cultist here. So we can grab... Now we could grab the Seeker of Carcosa. He's only got 2 fight, but if we put him in play, he is going to start stealing our clues, and I'm not a big fan of that. So I think what we'll do is we are going to take the Acolyte. We will take an Acolyte, and we will put him over at this location here, this Historical Society location, and we will add a Doom to him when he enters play. So there is 1 Doom in play now. The agenda will advance next turn if we, well, it's not going to advance next turn, but if we get any more Doom in play, it certainly could. What do we do here? I'd really love to grab this clue, go kill this guy, and then grab another clue quickly so we can advance. So we're going to try that. We're going to play our Perception for... so we will be going 5 versus 2, and we get a skull. That's going to be a -1, so we do succeed, and we will draw a card for the Perception. There's an art student. Okay, I like that. That's very nice. We can grab a clue when we play her. I am going to move over here to this location. It is the Historical Society meeting room. It's a 4-shroud location with 1 clue. And it has the action exhaust an ally asset, discover a clue at this location, limit once per round. That is very nice. We do have an ally, so we can do that. I am going to swap my role over to use my free action to swap my role over to Guardian. So I have 1 action remaining. Of course, the cultist or the Acolyte will engage us, and we are going to try to take him down right now. We are a 3-4 with our machete versus 3. Since we are a Guardian, I can play this if it bleeds to try to raise my. I can raise my combat to 5. So let's see how we do on the pull. That's a +1, so we do succeed, and we get rid of that Acolyte and the Doom on him. We are a little vulnerable now because we have our. We are a Guardian, and we have our machete out to improvise to our Crisis of Identity, but that's a risk I'm willing to take. It's our turn. Let's draw a card. There's another machete. All right. We will gain a resource. We add no Doom. We simply draw an encounter card, which is Mysterious Chanting. We place 2 Doom on the nearest cultist enemy, and if there are no cultist enemy in play, we have to search the encounter deck and discard pile for a cultist enemy and play it. So we will go looking for another cultist enemy. Let's find ourselves another Acolyte. There's one right there. Shuffle that up, and I think we'll just put him at the entry hall. Now, we don't add a... Oh, we do have to add a Doom to him since he enters play. Alright, and it's our turn again. So what we can do here is we can take this action on the Historical Society. We can exhaust an ally asset to discover one clue at this location. So we will exhaust Peter to gain a clue. That gives us our 2 clues per investigator. So we will advance to Act 1B, Late Night Studies. You find a record kept by one of the Society's historians pertaining to the dreadful events surrounding the closing of an old theater in Arkham, the Cedar Playhouse. Though there is no explicit mention of the King in Yellow, you believe you are on the right track. The historian's notes are cut short, and there is a faded handwritten page clipped to the final entry. The matter is too ghastly for the public eye. I am placing the remainder of this record in a hidden library. All further inquiries should be done away from prying eyes, for this is a dangerous matter, and not one to be researched lightly. So for each revealed Historical Society location, you add 1 clue per investigator to its maximum clue value. So we do add 1 clue there to the Historical Society meeting room. It's also a passageway. We should keep that in mind because that could come in very handy later. And but we don't add any to the entry hall since it has 0 clues. And we advance to Act 2A, which is Mistakes of the Past. Somewhere in the manor is a hidden library where you might be able to find more information about the King in Yellow. You must find the way in if you are to continue your investigation. And we need 2 clues to advance. Now this is an interesting situation because we've got the Acolyte here. If we move, we still have 2 actions remaining. We can move and try to kill him. Then we can come back next turn and pick up this clue, and then we're going to need to get 1 more clue to advance. So let us try that. We're going to move back to the entryway. I want to try to keep these cultists under control so they don't get out of hand. We are still a guardian, thankfully, so we can attack him. I'm going to pitch my other copy of the machete to give us a 5 versus 3. And let's see what the Chaos Bag says. It's a -2. That is a success. And this cultist will die. And that will be our turn. So we are at the entry hall. There are no enemies in play. We ready Peter during our upkeep. We draw a card. There is a look what I found. That's very helpful. We will gain a resource. No doom goes on the agenda, and we simply draw a card. It is a hunting shadow peril. You must either choose one, spend 1 clue, or take 2 damage. I can't spend a clue, so I have to take the damage. Whoops, that's the wrong one. There we go. Okay. So we have a choice here. We can go 1, take the clue with Peter. And then we simply move back. We want to go to this location over here, grab another clue, and then hopefully we can bring this game to a swift end. I'm going to swap out of Guardian with my free action. I'm going to head back to neutral so I don't end up losing my machete if I draw my weakness. So Peter readies. We draw a card. There it is. Good plan. We avoid losing either Peter or our machete to the crisis of identity. So we discard all cards we control of our current role, then discard the top card of our deck, switch your role to that class, and there's our dark horse. So we are a survivor right now. That's a shame. I would have loved to have had that in my hand. Okay, so we're gonna gain a resource. No doom on the agenda, and we draw an encounter card, which is we have to. It's led astray, which is a peril, and it has the revelation. We have to choose one. Place one of our clues on a cultist enemy. We cannot do that. Or place one doom on the current agenda. This may cause it to advance. We have to place the doom. We have no choice, so we will do that now. Alrighty, so we will continue. It is our next turn. We will use our first action to move to this Historical Society location. It is the Historical Society Record Office. Why is that the third floor? Where'd my other ground floor location go? Did I discard 2 ground floor locations? Let me check here. Something's gone awry. 3rd floor, 2nd floor. I might have just put the wrong image on. That's what I suspect here. So we will just carry on. The record office is a 2-shroud location with 1 clue, and we get enemies at this location get +1 fight and +1 evade. So we are going 3 versus 2. First action, we're just going to do it straight up. There is a Elder Thing, which is a -2, and if we fail and there's an enemy, we take a horror. We will do it again, 3 versus 2. We get a +1. There is our 2 clues. So we can advance. So let's do that now. We spend our 2 clues. Now we are going to lose Peter, unfortunately, due to this this mechanic, but that's fine. So we will flip, please, flip. Come on. There we go. We flip to Act 2B, Secret Passageways. As you rummage through a desk drawer, you are startled when you hear a voice behind you. "Excuse me, can I help you?" You are relieved to find the voice belongs to a thin, elderly man wearing wide-rimmed glasses, a member of the Historical Society, no doubt. You explain to him that you are searching for a hidden library somewhere in the manor, though you purposely leave out why. He introduces himself as Mr. Peabody, the Historical Society's curator. "I'll help you find what you're looking for," he explains, "but only if you tell me what this is all about once we get there." You hope it doesn't come to that. So for each revealed Historical Society location, you add 1 clue to it. So we add a clue here, and at this passageway, at this ground floor passageway, the meeting room. Then we choose an investigator to take control of Mr. Peabody. So that will be Lola, and we have to discard Peter Sylvester. Now, Mr. Peabody is an ally with the Historical Society. You can take an action to exhaust Mr. Peabody to choose a location until he readies. That location gains -1 shroud and the passageway trait. So then we put the set-aside hidden library location into play. So we will go grab that now. And that goes there. So we need to give the hidden library the passageway trait so we can get to it. And yeah, so basically now we just need to get to the passageway and go from there. Okay, so that was... Which action was that now? I've lost my train of thought. Yes, that was our second. Did we move that turn? I believe we moved. Yeah, so we moved, failed a clue test, failed the intellect test, and then grabbed him. Okay, so that's going to end our turn. We will simply draw a card. There's another art student. Gain a clue. No doom, and just draw an encounter card, which is another led astray. Okay, that's interesting. So that, again, we have to place a clue on a cultist or add a doom to the current agenda, which will cause it to advance. So that will flip it to Agenda 1B, which is Dark Ritual. A phrase in a language you cannot describe whispers through the building, and without warning, all of the electric lights shatter at once. You light a nearby candle and continue your search. The building is quite different once plunged into darkness. Shadows and silhouettes dance along the walls. Crevices you hadn't noticed before draw your wary eye. What other secrets does this building hold? And we shuffle the encounter discard pile into the encounter deck. So we will do that now. Shuffle into deck. And we've got a couple cultists here who need to go back in as well. Shuffle that up. And we advance to Agenda 2A, Ransacking the Manor. Though the whispering has ceased, the sounds of rummaging and furniture shifting is unmistakable. Whoever is here, they're searching just as thoroughly as you are. And again, we do not add doom to this agenda during the mythos phase, and forced after one or more clues are placed on an enemy in play, you flip those clues to their doom side. So we are going to just want to check something quickly here before we continue. Yeah, we needed to put our Act 1 or 3A into play as well. The Oath. This building is very old and filled with all manner of secret passageways. Mr. Peabody explains perhaps one of them will lead to this library you're looking for. So locations with the passageway trait are connected to one another, and the objective is only investigators in the hidden library may spend the requisite number of clues as a group to advance. And we need 3 clues per investigator to advance. Okay, so we are so we can take 2 actions to move back to this passageway, and then I'm going to exhaust Mr. Peabody to grab a clue, and that will end our turn using the game text on the meeting room. So our next turn we can exhaust Mr. Peabody to give the hidden library the passageway and move in there. So that will be our goal. That's going to end our turn. We will draw a card. There's an emergency cache. We will gain a resource. No doom goes on the agenda, and we draw an encounter card, which is Whispers in Your Head. It's a peril, hidden revelation. Secretly add whispers in your head, dread, to your hand. You cannot move more than once each turn, and we have to take the double action to discard it. That is fine. I'm quite happy to do that. Mr. Peabody is ready. So we will exhaust him again to move to give the hidden library the passageway trait. Move up there. We will flip it over. It's a 4-shroud location with 3 clues per investigator. And while an enemy is moving, the hidden library gains the passageway trait. And it has Victory 2. The space was a small reading room carpeted with cobwebs and dust. Filled bookshelves lined the walls, but a few books lay scattered on the floor as though their readers had abandoned them in a hurry. So we are still a survivor, which is fine by me because I would like to investigate this location. It is a 3-shroud location thanks to Mr. Peabody, and we are a 3, but we also have this copy of Look What I Found in our hand, which is very nice. So I am just going to investigate straight up. It's a -1, so we failed the test 3 versus 2, we fail, but we do have the look what I found. Whoops. We need a clue there. We remove 2 resources. We play our look what I found in order to discover 2 clues. So that is going to do it for that turn, and we are in an extremely good position to finish this off next turn because we do have this art student in our hand. We can simply play the art student to replace Mr. Peabody and grab that final clue. So I think we can finish this off next turn. We've got to draw a card. That's a vicious blow. That's not really going to help us. We will gain a resource. No doom is added to the agenda, and we will simply draw an encounter card, which is Led Astray. That again is the revelation. We must choose one, place one of our clues on a cultist enemy, or place one doom on the current agenda. This may cause the current agenda to advance. I have no cultists to put clues on, so I will simply put a doom on ransacking the manor. Alright, it is our turn. And we can, Mr. Peabody will be ready. We could do a couple of skill tests, but I'm just going to do this the easy way. I'm going to spend 2 resources to play my art student, replacing Mr. Peabody. And when I play the first I've got to switch to Seeker. I got to do that first. Then I play my art student to replace Mr. Peabody. And when I play the art student, I trigger it to discover a clue at my location, and I've got 3 clues, so I can advance. So we will advance to Act 3B, The Clasp. As you study the hidden library, you find a few pieces of information that stand out. As with the recent production, the previous performance of The King in Yellow came to Arkham from overseas and was performed by a French acting troupe. You don't recognize any of the cast members' names, and of course the actor who played the role of the stranger is anonymous. However, it seems that a member of the Historical Society has done some of your work for you. There are several old newspaper clippings gathered together along with information about the play. Headlines include Cedar Playhouse closes due to fire, experts baffled over freak floods, and the like. Hidden amongst this information you also find a strange object, a clasp of onyx with an alien inscription. The investigators must decide, choose one. This is an important discovery. We should take it. R1. And it's just a silly trinket, and it would be wrong to steal it from the Historical Society. Leave it behind. R2. Well, I'm not entirely sure which choice Lola would make in this circumstance. I mean, she is an actress. What would an actress do? Would she like the trinket, or would she leave it behind? I'm going to give it some thought, and we'll find out in the next scenario. That is Echoes of the Past. It is a fairly straightforward scenario, as you can see. I handled it pretty easily, but I did get a very good opening hand with the machete and Peter Sylvester and the copy of improvisation. Yeah, this isn't my favorite scenario in the Path to Carcosa so far. The Unbreakable Oath, which is up next, is a fantastic scenario, and I really hope that you will join me when I play that here in an upcoming playthrough. That is going to do it for this playthrough. If you enjoyed it, I'd appreciate it if you could leave me a thumbs up. It helps out the channel a great deal. Make sure you leave a comment down below. I always enjoy commenting or chatting with you people about these games. If you haven't subscribed, make sure you hit that subscribe button to be notified of when I release future content. If you need to contact me, I can be reached at manfromleng@gmail.com. I'm also on Twitter at manfromleng. And make sure you enter the Path to Carcosa Deluxe Box giveaway contest that's going on right now. Check out that video and get your answer the skill testing questions and send that information to me by January 14th, and you will be entered into that draw. I look forward to hearing from you. Until the stars are right, keep your shotgun close and your elder sign closer. Take care out there, and happy investigating.